So I'd like to thank you for joining me on my podcast. I love having different types of actors on my show, and so I'm super excited to have you on. I saw you on opening night, and it was absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you very kindly.
And so for the first part, can you please explain a little bit about yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Well, I think probably most people know me from uh, the Chicago production of Wicked, in which I played the wonderful Wizard of Oz. For pretty much all of that 3.5 year run, I also did it uh, for about 10 months on each of the tours. Um, they might also know me from Come From Away, though I did that in New York and in Australia, never around here. But I've worked at a lot of the theaters around Chicago, the Marriott and the Drury Lane, the Paramount, of course, uh, the old Candlelight a million years ago when that was still a place. I've worked on a couple of the Dick Wolf Chicago shows, and here I am now doing Cats, which is among the top
Yeah.
4 or 5 surprises of my life.
And it's circus themed, which is also very cool.
Yeah, it really is. And I have to tell you, and your viewership, one afternoon at rehearsal, I was released early. They didn't need me any longer for what they were working on, and I stayed, even though I had been released. I stayed to watch Skimbleshanks 2 more times. So that's how fun this show is, and that was, of course, without that was just in the rehearsal hall, without costumes, without the orchestra, without any of the circus apparatus, um, or is that apparati? I'm not sure. Apparatchik. We had no Russian spies, uh, but it's just so exciting to be part of it and to be able to see so much of it.
Yeah, that's great. And so what got you into theater? Like, what made you want to become a performer when you were younger?
Being told I couldn't. I was uh, this a long, long time ago in a galaxy far away. I was attending a junior college, almost completely directionless, but I fell in with the theater kids there, and but largely on the basis that the theater production class was guaranteed A, and it would transfer as a humanities credit. Um, but the fellow who was the one-man theater department in those days, a guy named Richard Marriott, who is no longer with us, um, demanded that we take ourselves and the work very seriously. Um, and one thing led to another, and one friendship led to another little opportunity, and another friendship from school led to yet another opportunity. Um, and the next thing I knew, here I am 152 years later in Cats at the Paramount.
Yeah, that's great. And so speaking of cats, what was the audition process like for you? Because I know others have different audition processes.
Well, for me, because of the roles I play, it was fairly simple. And Trent knew me already. I had worked at the Paramount previously, and I'd auditioned for him on a number of occasions. Uh, but for me, the audition was simply doing a video audition. They sent an accompaniment track for a couple of the tunes, and of course the music, so that I could learn the songs. Um, but as I say, and so that was really it. And they offered me uh, the job because most of what I do is sing and horse around.
Yeah, that
Trent knew me already. I had worked at the Paramount previously, and I'd auditioned for him on a number of occasions. Uh, but for me, the audition was simply doing a video audition. They sent an accompaniment track for a couple of the tunes, and of course.
that's awesome. And so, what was the best piece of advice that you've ever received from a fellow actor?
Gosh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
The best piece of advice from I know my dear old friend Wally Engelhart. Again, he is someone who has passed away many years ago. We were doing a play at the Forum, which was part of the old Candlelight, called "Do Black Patent Leather Shoes Really Reflect Up?" It was a very popular play in Chicago. And one night at the show, it was a very long running show. It ran for 4.5 or 5 years. Um, and one day I had come to work with some kind of a sniffly, runny nose, and there was a scene in which we were still on the stage deck, and then off to the side that part was lit, and then we'd be lit, and we'd come to life and do whatever, and then that part of the stage would be lit, and back and forth. Well, while we were dark, I sat there going, as you do when you have a runny nose. And we came off stage, and Wally said, what's with all the sniffing? And I said, well, I'm kind of a runny nose. And he said, well, you could carry a handkerchief. People do. And for the rest of my life, for the rest of my professional career, unless my costume does not have pockets, in this case, in case of cats, we do not have pockets, I have forever asked wardrobe if I may carry a handkerchief. And it's come in handy a remarkable number of times. You never know when something will happen, not very serious, but you're bleeding.
Yeah.
Or there's water on the deck that really needs to be wiped up now so that no one slips and falls or something. Uh, or occasionally you just need to wipe your nose, as people do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, over the course of your career, you've played a numerous amount of roles. What is something that a role has taught you that you carry on with you to this day?
That I beg your pardon, please say
W-
that again.
uh,
I just couldn't hear you.
What is something that one of your roles has taught you that you still carry on to this day?
Oh, clearly the being a part of Come From Away. I trust you've seen Come From Away somewhere along the
Oh
line.
yeah, a few times. I've seen it Michigan and then Indianapolis.
It's just such a remarkable, remarkable piece, and it all boils down to simple human kindness. Just be kind. That's all there is to it, and it's not entirely Mayor Claude uh, who teaches that lesson in the play. Uh, but the entire piece and all the people of Gander who simply cared for those 7,000 people from around the world without question, and when you press them on it, they simply respond, "Well, isn't that what you would have done?" And we all, of course, like to think it is what we would have done for strangers. And here's the good news: the Paramount is producing Come From Away later
Yeah.
this year. I don't know the exact dates. I want to say August to October,
I,
something
I
like
want to say it starts like August 24th, I thought. Yeah.
that. Good for you. Good for you. I should have been better prepared, uh, but for your viewership, if you possibly can see Come From Away, uh, do. It may well change your life, as will cats.
Yeah, for sure. And so, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Ah, that's that's really harsh, Timothy. Um, don't believe any of the people who tell you you can't, and most especially, don't believe yourself when you say you can't, or you think you can't, or you fear that you can't.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And so, next question kind of ties into the last one, but what advice would you give to other actors or actresses who want to pursue acting as a career?
Get out. I don't want to audition against you. I'm kidding, of course. The same, I would give, as you say, the same advice. Believe in yourself. Don't let people tell you that you can't do it or that you're too tall or too short or too thin or too blue or too green or too anything. If working in the theater is something that you want to pursue, whether it's being an actor, a singer, a musician, a producer, a director, if you have a passion for the theater and for the hard work that's involved, and if you have a desire to be around some of the most incredible, talented, kind, hardworking people in the world, well, a life in the theater is for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, actually, after the interview today, so I'd like to thank you for joining me.
Of course, I'm happy to. It's a pleasure to meet you over the